Now, it is no secret that the BMW R1250 GS was regarded as the benchmark of the big ADV segment. But over the years, the competition has begun to catch up and have come out with really competent products that take the fight to BMW. To resolve that and to reiterate that BMW should hold the title of setting the benchmark of the segment, they have come out with this, the R1300 GS. Welcome to our first ride review of the BMW R1300 GS, in which I'm going to be telling you whether or not BMW have actually done enough to reset the benchmark and whether or not you should consider getting one. So before we proceed, don't forget to like this video, share it with like-minded enthusiasts, and smash that bell icon to stay notified for all things thrill of riding. The R1250 GS was a bit of an oddball with its asymmetrical headlight design and large boxer engine that protrudes from either side, but we all grew to love it over the years. With the R1300 GS, BMW has taken a radical approach to the design, making things more symmetrical like they did with the S1000RR, and also a lot smaller. The R1300 GS uses a new projector headlight flanked by 4 strip LED DRLs. The windscreen design is new and now electronically operated. All the panels have been designed with aerodynamics in mind, and to that end, no panels are exposed. Around the suspension, the fairing, all of it is sealed off to improve the aerodynamic efficiency of the motorcycle. Even the rear mudguard is sealed from the inside so the wind doesn't catch behind the wheels. The major visual change is that the left and the right header units of the boxer engine look almost symmetrical now. The instrument cluster is a familiar unit, and below that is a handlebar that positions you in a more committed riding stance. The tank, now smaller in capacity by a litre, flows seamlessly into the rider's seat. Even the rear end takes a more minimalist approach, with the turn signals and brake lights integrated seamlessly into the same units, and there's no central LED brake light unit anymore. The exhaust unit is considerably smaller than before, and the overall look and feel of the bike is one that seems to be much smaller than that of the R1250 GS, and with the 12 kilos weight savings, that really does make a difference. Now, the BMW R1300 GS is powered by an all-new 1300cc boxer twin engine. This is not just a bored out 1250 engine, that is what BMW made abundantly clear during the press briefing. Now, the engine makes use of a wider bore and a shorter stroke, which has bumped the compression ratio way up. In fact, BMW tells us that the GS is running a higher compression ratio than the S1000RR. Now, let's talk about the headline figures. 1300cc, 143 bhp and 149 Newton meters of torque. All these figures are more than that of the R1300 GS, and you also have to factor in that the bike makes all this extra power while also weighing 12 kilos less than before. This really does translate into a lot more power for your right wrist to play with. Now, bear in mind, we are riding at close to 15 to 16,000 feet above sea level, and there's bound to be loss of power because of that. But despite that, the GS felt really sprightly and eager to add digits to the speedometer. The acceleration felt brisk and backed by a big wave of torque. The high compression ratio does translate into an engine that is very eager to rev and very fast at that too. The tacho surges to the red line, and before you know it, you're reaching for the next gear. Now, speaking of gears, the gearbox has been revised in terms of ratios and just in terms of where it has been placed. It's placed under the engine now to make the packaging more effective with a better center of gravity as well. The first and second gears are shorter than before, while the sixth gear is taller for better touring abilities. Now, while we didn't get to spend enough time, the initial impressions are solid. The chassis setup of the R1300 GS has been majorly overhauled to make for a lighter, more agile and a more precise handling machine. The mainframe and monocoque subframe made with sheet metal make for a new skeleton for the GS, and if this is where the magic begins, the new suspension setup is the pièce de résistance. Called the Telelever and Paralever Evo, this suspension takes on the masterpiece that is BMW's proprietary suspension technology and adds kit that makes it that much better for a wider range of applications. The major problem that we had with the R1250 GS was the vagueness of the front end that came with the Telelever front suspension. While it was great at preventing the front from diving under hard braking and all the other benefits it brings to the table, it sort of disconnected the rider from the front end with little to no feedback coming back to the rider. Now that made cornering hard and riding off-road a bit challenging, but with this Evo version of the telelever suspension, BMW has added something that's called a flex plate, and that, along with the rigid ball joint connection of the handlebar to the fork, makes for a very communicative front end. It still doesn't feel as direct as a traditional fork setup, but it feels a lot better than the previous generations, and that opens the GS up to a whole new set of riders. You're a lot more aware of where your front wheel is, whether you're cornering hard or riding off-road, and the best part is that this doesn't come at the cost of what made the bespoke suspension setup great in the first place. The bike being lighter means that it feels a lot more agile, and that, with the reassuring front end, makes for a bike that is a lot of fun in the corners. The riding position too has been altered with newfound handling prowess in mind. You reach for a slightly lower than the R1300 GS's handlebar, which allows you to put a little more weight on the front end. This means that you're in a more aggressive attack riding stance when you decide to stand up and ride off-road. Now the 850mm seat height, it continues, but it feels just as manageable as the previous bike. Now, like I said, we didn't spend enough time with the bike, but the short time that we spent on the highways, the twisties and the bad roads really did suggest that it is a big step up from the previous bike in all the right directions.
I'll be your hero. I'll be your hero.
Now, as you would expect, the BMW R1300 GS comes packed with tech and features, most of which really do enrich the riding experience. Now, continuing with the suspension, the bike comes with dynamic suspension adjustment, which in the case of the 1300 not only adjusts the damping rate but also the spring rates to offer a most balanced ride. Apart from that, you have 7 different riding modes to choose from, all customizable to some degree. You have traction control, ABS, both with different modes and intervention levels, a windscreen that is now electronically adjustable, heated grips are available as standard, and there are a lot more features that the brochure will be able to do a better job of telling you. Now, apart from that, one very interesting feature on this motorcycle is the new revised switch cube. There's a new sandwich button which essentially works as a hotkey. It allows you to select one parameter of the bike and adjust it quickly using the arrow keys next to it. So you don't need to dive deep into the menus if you want to control something like the traction control, the suspension settings, your windscreen, or certain things like that. Now this has dynamic electronic adjustment, so what that essentially means is it adjusts the rate on the fly. And what's very remarkable about the suspension, it not just sets the damping rate and changes the damping rate, but it also sets the spring rate accordingly. So you get a very complete, very wholesome ride and handling package setup. Now it is not the most comfortable plush bike in terms of the suspension setup, but what you do get in return, you get a firm but comfortable, very precise suspension setup, one that gives you a lot of feedback as a rider, which in turn makes you safer and gives you a lot more control over the bike. The braking, everything is pretty good. There's not that much I can say because I haven't spent that much time with the bike, but if you actually start delving deeper into the bike, there is a lot to talk about. Now we really haven't gotten enough time to even scratch the surface of the potential that this bike has to offer. But my initial impressions of the bike are solid. BMW has put in a lot of work to make this bike that much better than the R1250 GS while retaining all the qualities that you loved the previous bike for. The new engine, the new chassis setup, the new suspension setup and the electronics they tie in to make a really competent machine, one that's worthy of a flagship title. Now of course, whether or not this is the benchmark for the segment can only be verified with a proper road test and a comparison with the other ADVs in the segment, but as it stands, I really do like this ADV and I would like to spend a lot more time with it. Now as far as the prices are concerned, BMW haven't announced that just yet, but it would be fair to assume with all the extra kit, extra performance that it packs, it would pack a fair premium over the outgoing R1250 GS. I'm assuming around a lakh and a half between variants. Now, have BMW done enough to justify the extra price? I feel like they really have, and more will be answered when we get to spend more time with the bike. But like I said, my initial impressions are solid. Now what do you think about this bike? Do let me know in the comment section down below, and as always, thank you for watching.
I'll be your hero.